Many of us experience disillusionment as a negative thing, but I want to show you today that disillusionment is actually an invitation to reality. Hi, I'm James. I want to show you my take on disillusionment and upgrade me today. Now, have you ever been deeply disappointed about how things worked out in life? You've got a vision, you've got a dream, and you know, this is the way it's going to be. I'm going to do A and it's going to get me B. If I work hard, I'm going to be successful. If I'm caring and loving enough in my relationship, it's going to be a beautiful experience. If I look after my kids, they're going to turn out the way I want them to be. All sorts of things in life don't turn out the way we want, and we can become disillusioned in that situation. Maybe in our careers, we think, if I get into this career, I'm going to earn this sort of money, I'm going to get this kind of respect, I'm going to be able to buy the house that I want, and I'm going to be happy when all those things happen. And then we get to the end of it, often at the top of the ladder, we look down and we go, this is not what I signed up for. This isn't the life that I wanted, especially in our 40s. You know, we can come to a point where we've achieved all the things that we dreamed of, and that's often the time where we find the greatest, most poignant sense of disillusionment. And I want to show you today that disillusionment is actually not a bad thing. Disillusionment is, in a sense, an invitation to rediscover reality. I want you to think about reality with me for a moment. Reality is something that we all probably think we have grasped. We know it's real. We can see it, we can taste it, we can touch it. That's what's real. And we rely so much on our five senses. But the reality is, our minds are encased in a skull, and it's a brilliant tool, this mind, but it's very limited in processing the immense amounts of data that reality is pouring out every nanosecond. Reality is going on outside there, and your senses are picking up a fraction of it because it can't process any more than that. People with on the autistic spectrum will tell you, that sometimes the inputs that they're getting is just overwhelming, and they can't process them because the way that they've developed and the way that they're structured is that they're picking up too much sensory information. Sometimes it's too much touch, too much sound, too much sight. All of us our brains need to hone down and focus on fractions of reality's input, because we just don't have the processing powers in our brains to actually make sense of all of reality at once. So what's really going on is that you are actually just picking up little fractions of what's really going on through your senses, your touch, your taste, your sight, your ears, and you're picking up those tiny focused moments of reality's information, which isn't the big picture. And we are making a story or a narrative about those things. That's the only way we can function. We need to have story. We need to have narrative. We need to have mythology. We need to have eschatology. What's happened? What did it mean? What's happening now? What does it mean? What's going to happen in the future? What does it mean? That's what culture is. And that information is being processed by our identity. Now, our identity is something that we often identify as us, but it's not. Our identity is something that came after us. We existed as children, as babies, and as we grew, we developed an identity. If I had been born in India, for example, my identity would be completely different than it is because I was brought up in Australia and New Zealand. The identity I gained in this country is as a man, as a male, our white person with a certain background and a certain religious belief system has formed my identity, and that identity is what I filter all of my inputs of reality, which is still only a fraction of what's actually going on. I filter it through my particular identity, or you could call it your ego, and I make a story and a narrative about what's going on with my life. And when that narrative doesn't fit reality, I get disillusioned. You think about crustaceans, right? Like a crayfish or a crab, for example. They have an exoskeleton on the outside that protects them as they grow. Now, these animals are always growing and getting bigger. Like if you can see crayfish that have been left, they haven't been caught, they get massive. I've seen massive crayfish when I've been diving. and they just haven't been caught, or they might be marine reserves where they haven't been able to be fished. And these animals, they just keep growing and growing and growing. And when they grow, they shed their shell, right? And they go somewhere safe and they shed the shell, they crawl out of it and they expand, all right? And then they form a new shell and they last for a while until they fill that up and they're too big, and then they shed it and they expand. Snakes are the same. Reptiles, some of them have to shed their skin to grow. And we're the same. I want you to start looking at disillusionment as a shedding of the boundaries of your particular identity to grow and become more. You get to the end of something and you get disillusioned with it because you suddenly see the limitations of it. You hit the wall. You know, the word disillusionment itself is a clue to what it really means. You're losing the illusion that you understand reality. It's disillusionment, the process of losing the illusion that you thought you knew it all and understood reality in its totality. That's naive, and it doesn't fit what science shows us and what psychology shows us and what spiritual journey shows us. We are unable to really comprehend reality, and especially through our five senses. So start thinking of disillusionment as an invitation to grow. Don't think of it as life isn't going to give me what I want. I've wasted my time. This corporation, this group of people, this relationship, this career isn't what I wished it was. I should just give up. There's no point trying because it's never going to get me what I want. Those are all thoughts that can go on. And so disillusionment can become despair. Disillusionment can become despair. Despair can become depression. It can be giving up. We can just throw our hands in the air and go, oh, I'm just going to give up. What's the point in anything? I'm disillusioned in the government. I'm disillusioned in a marriage. I'm disillusioned in my children. And I'm disillusioned in myself, which is the worst state you can be in if you see it as a negative thing. Rather go, I've grown so much now that I can see that this little protective reality that I formed for myself, the story that I've been telling myself, no longer fits what I'm experiencing. I'm actually being invited to grow. Shed that shell, shed that skin. That's difficult. It's vulnerable. It's a dangerous time because you don't have the structures. I've heard it said that we have two things operating in us all the time: a desire for boundary and a desire for infinite expansion. We want to grow, but we also want to be safe and secure. And so you've got to find that tipping point where you can remain secure, but also allow growth. I'm not saying throw everything you believe out. I'm not saying throw all of the structures and boundaries that you have out, but stretch them, reevaluate them, test them against what's actually going on in your life, reevaluate and place bigger boundaries so that you can grow into them. And then when you hit those walls, shed that and grow bigger boundaries, and just continue to expand and grow by moving those boundaries. Now, it's very difficult to do because most of us strongly identify with our identity, or you could call it ego. The ego isn't you. The ego is a structure, it's a facade, it's a mask that we've placed over ourselves. Richard Rohr talks about the word persona. Persona is another word for identity or ego. Persona comes from it's a Greek word, and it means two things. It means, because it comes from, and I'll explain where it comes from first, it comes from the Greek masks that they used to wear on the stage, you know, the smiley face and the sad face. When you became an actor, you took on a persona. And we've changed that to mean person as your identity. But the word has two concepts into it, because around the mouth it had a sort of a funnel shape, and it would amplify their voices so that it could go out, because they didn't have microphones, it would go out into the auditorium, into the amphitheatre. And so persona means sound. Pers means whole. The persona is a tool. The ego is a tool for you, who you really are, this consciousness as being, which is me, which is the I, to express itself in reality, to manifest what is within me. And I manifest that in different ways as I grow and as I become more aware of reality. Now, I'm never going to understand reality because I'm a limited human being. I'm like a little crayfish, and I can grow and grow and grow, but I'm always limited, you know? I'm always going to see reality in a certain way because of my identity. But you have to start to disassociate from this ego and start to realize the ego is something I made and I need to change it. If you're so identified with your own ego that you can never change it, you're going to become very, very isolated. You remain tribal. They're with me, they're against me. I'm this, you're that. If you're not the same as me, if you don't believe what I believe, look like I look, say the things the way I say it, speak in my language, I'm not going to identify with you. You're other, you're alien, you're enemy. If you stay in that state of identity, focus, you can't grow, because that's not reality. That's not the way things really work out. People from other cultures, people from other genders, people from other experiences and ages in life have something to teach you. They have another unique experience of reality that we all need to open ourselves to. And disillusionment is the invitation to grow. It's the invitation to go, hey, I've built this, I've collected this set of beliefs, this identity over the years. I need to reevaluate it because there's chinks in it. There's reality shining through, and it's going, hey, have a look, this is what's real. Start to peel back this identity, let it fall down, and reevaluate in the light of the new things that you're learning, and form a new set of structures, a new way to interact with the world, a new way to manifest who you are into the world that's more in line with what you're experiencing and what reality is in that moment. So I just want to encourage you that if you're feeling disillusioned right now, don't let it be a negative thing, but understand it's an invitation to experience reality more as it is. So I hope if that helped you today, that you would be willing to just subscribe, get on my website, upgrademe.life, and be a partner with me. There's opportunities there to contribute to this work so that I can make more videos and I can produce more materials and courses that can help people learn more about this. I've also written articles on this on LinkedIn. Check me out on Instagram, and I'll see you next week.